Welcome to another edition of the Dementia Care Partner Talk Show. Now, here's dementia care expert Teepa and your host, Greg Phelps.
Hello and welcome to the Dementia Care Partners podcast. My name is Greg Phelps, and joining me as usual is renowned dementia care expert Teepa Snow. And Teepa, have you ever read an article and had that real sickening feeling in the pit of your stomach? One I read last week was about how many seniors are now homeless as their children have moved back into the house and basically taken control of the house and their finances. Not one of our usual topics, but it does fall under the heading of dementia care. So if you're listening to this and following along, please plan ahead. But have you dealt with this at all? Because I didn't realize it was so insidious.
It's becoming one of those phenomena that people experience. And so the resources that the senior had, they wanted to involve their kids in it, and they did advance. I mean, some of these folks even did advanced directives to give the kids the responsibility of doing the care. But then the kids apparently took that to mean, now I get to do what I want to do because she has dementia. And they're being placed in situations where they don't have housing. So the resources run out, there's no housing, but the kids have taken over the house. And so that's becoming a pattern. And it's not exactly legal, but the problem is there's nobody to enforce. And the person that now has dementia and is homeless is frequently seen as not skilled and not competent. And so they don't have the skills or wherewithal to get a lawyer. And so then it just becomes a fait accompli, and the person is now trying to find places to stay and be, and frequently end up on the streets.
By the time it gets to that stage, the person with the dementia is not able to handle it. So this is not, we can't fix somebody's problem today. This is going to take some pre-planning. If you're listening to this and your brain is still functioning normally, think of yourself and then think, does this apply to mom and dad? And how can I help them? Because there's usually siblings along. It's not.
Yeah. I mean, but the tricky part is who gets the inside track and who might have history in which way. And so really, the older adults, those of us like you and I, Greg, who are in the older adult category now, need to be really upfront and talking about, so if this happens, this is going to be the guides and the rules. And that means frequently having people get a lawyer involved before you ever get to that place, so that your wishes are adhered to and you understand what you're talking about doing and creating. And this is where people talk about trusts. Like you create a will and a trust, and the trust is set up to safeguard resources, because things do happen and people do make choices. I will share that back when I was young, in the 1980s, I ran a Medicaid waiver program in North Carolina. And it was one of its very earliest where people could stay at home rather than go in facilities or come out of facilities if they didn't want to be there and go home. As long as they met the qualifications for that, they could use their resources in the home situation rather than in the facility situation. And so I had a family that was caring for great grandma and then had kids and were living in an apartment, great grandma's apartment. And what they were doing is they were using all of great grandma's resources on their infant and their toddler. And great grandma was being put on newspapers for incontinence, and they were using all the incontinence products that great grandma was eligible for their kids. And so they would order incontinence products, and then we went out and found out that the incontinence products were not the incontinence products we thought we were getting. They were the kids' incontinence. And sort of like, it was like, wait a minute, why do you guys think, well, she's got a pressure sore and she's old. What does it matter? The kids really matter. And it was one of those moments where you go, wow. And so safeguards needed to be put in place for both the kids, but also for grandma, because the program that was being used was her program. And that's just an example. This was long ago that this happened.
It's by the time a person has dementia, it's too late to back up and hit the safeguards. So we're not talking directly to the group that we generally try and deal with today. We're talking to the group, the care partners in this, that
Your
get
own,
in
I mean,
there, find out.
your own plans for your own self. I mean, really looking ahead for yourself and going, this isn't just an old person's condition. I mean, it could happen to any of us at any time. It might turn that our symptoms become profound and present. We never know. I mean, we could be in an accident and something would happen to us, and all of a sudden someone is having to activate that whatever. If you never did it, well, then all bets off. The state will be involved. But if you did make arrangements ahead of time, I hope you talked through that and established everything you need and kept it updated. Because if things have changed, you also have to check in episodically. And I think we make mistakes in thinking it's somebody else's. And well, that's for mom or dad. And it's like, well, no, it's for us. And it can be for younger people as well, because as you start accruing resources, you have to think, well, what would happen if I had the young kids and something happened to me? Who's going to raise them? Have you thought about who you want to do that? I mean, this is that planning ahead thing that people hesitate on. And we're not good at it from the beginning, and some people aren't. And so we go through our whole lives not good at it. And as we get older, it has more and more profound impact because I don't have anybody to manage things if I can't. And my management is getting iffy. And I still haven't found somebody to take it on. And now I'm dependent on the goodwill of somebody.
If I want to talk to somebody about this, I think that you have the resources who are in effect neutral, sort of like not even a referee. They're just neutral. Here's what you could or should or
some options. I mean, if you haven't thought of this, there are these 3 different options to consider. I mean, and we are always on the lookout for where are good places people can go to find information about this, because we know it's a poorly understood phenomena until you're in the middle of it, and then you're drowning if you're the person who's been asked to support someone and it's like, I didn't even know I was on there. And that happens all too often. And it's like, whoa, wait a minute. What? I'm in charge of what? And it's like, yeah, they had you listed. And it's like, oh my. So yeah, you may just need somebody to talk if you're in that situation. If you are in a pre-planning situation, doing it when somebody's able to say what they like and want and getting that solidified is a great idea, because it cuts down on the crap later on, because not all families are, I don't know, what is it? June, was it, who was a happy family? Walter and the Leave It to Beaver and June and whoever it was, but those kind of families are fake families. They aren't real families. We can get along fine until we can't. Some of them never got along that great to start with. So working it out really does matter, because otherwise you can leave a real mess.
Teepa, thank you very much.
Thank you, Greg. I think
you've been listening to the Dementia Care Partners podcast. For more information on today's program, go to teepasnow.com.